Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. Available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Thursday, August 17th, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
And I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, not Al Ferguson. You're welcome, world. I'm Julio Capo Jr., and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Oh, it's a good day here at Q News Tonight with these awesome folks. Let's begin by welcoming anchor Bonnie Builder. Bonnie is the premier South Florida bodybuilding drag queen. A recent graduate of FIU, come on Panthers. She comes to life with a microphone and a spotlight. Welcome, Bonnie.
In the gay agenda, South Florida. AQUA Foundation for Women presents TransCon, September 9th. AQUA Foundation for Women's TransCon is a day-long conference that will be held at the Scott Galvin Community Center on September 9th, 2023 at 10 a.m. AQUA Foundation for Women is a nonprofit that serves and supports the lesbian, bisexual, and transgender community in South Florida through grants, scholarships, and initiatives. The theme of TransCon 2023 is connecting community to resources. It is a free conference for the South Florida transgender and non-binary community, put together by the trans non-binary community. It is Florida's only such kind of conference. This event will focus on health and well-being, education, self-growth, and employment entrepreneurship, and feature a youth hangout space, a decompression space, live musical performances, a gender-affirming closet, a 50-50 raffle, breakfast, lunch, and a post-event social hour. More information can be found at aquafoundation.org.
And now let's welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is the professor of English and Humanities at Broward College and teaches in the College of Business at Florida Atlantic University. He has served as visiting professor at colleges in Bolivia, Brazil, China, India, and Spain. Incredible. Tai owns Linden Bridge LLC, an educational experience company. Hey, Tai, Dr.
Next, the gay agenda South Florida. Outrage returns to M2 to celebrate 12 years for Labor Day Saturday. This Labor Day weekend, Miami's biggest party brand, Outrage, celebrates 12 years of memorable events. The celebration will take place at Miami Beach's biggest and newest mega club, M2, on September 2nd from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The event will feature music by Ben Baskin, Liza Rodriguez, and Suri. On public demand, M2's Posh Lounge will also feature sounds by S. Urge Miami is one of the world's biggest gay events. Advanced tickets for the event start at $70. VIP tickets include quick entry, plus access to the mezzanine viewing area, open vodka and rum bar from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m., along with fruit snacks and private bathrooms. The event is open to all over 21. For further details and ticket bookings, visit urgemiami.com.
And now let's welcome the legend, Cindy Brown. Cindy was an early organizer of the Miami AIDS Walk and the White Party for Care Resource. She is the program's director for the Lambda Living program at Jewish Community Services, and she also served as the executive director of the MDGLCC Foundation. And that barely scratches the surface. Hey, Cindy.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, LGBTQ plus caregiver support group every third Tuesday. The Alzheimer's Association of South Florida and Lambda Living program of Jewish Community Services present the LGBTQ plus caregiver support group, hosted by JCS and Lambda Living. The support group is organized on every third Tuesday of the month at 2 p.m. online, so you can join from anywhere. I facilitate the support group, and the goal of the support group is to build a support system with people who understand and care and exchange practical information on caregiving, discuss challenges and possible solutions, share feelings, needs, and concerns, and learn about community resources. Jewish Community Services of South Florida offers exemplary social services through compassionate and comprehensive programs that help people stay healthy and productive. For more details about this support group, you can visit jcsfl.org/lambda.
And last but definitely not least, let's welcome anchor Elijah Manley. Elijah is a community organizer, an activist, and formerly, listen to this, the youngest ever candidate for the Florida House of Representatives doing God's work. He is the owner of Benchmark Strategies, a South Florida consulting firm. Hey, Elijah.
In the Gay Agenda, South Florida, get ready for the GFLGLCC Quarterly Networking Luncheon presented by TD Bank on September 27th. The Greater Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce Quarterly Networking Luncheon presented by TD Bank is on September 27th at 11:30 a.m. The event will take place at the Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach. The chef at the Sonesta will create a wonderful 3-course lunch served with coffee or tea. A vegetarian option and a cash bar will also be available. The attendees can valet park for $10. GFLGLCC promotes business and economic opportunities for the LGBT and LGBT-friendly community. The event has TD Bank as a presenting sponsor, Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach is the host sponsor, and media sponsors are Hotspots and Happening Out Television Network. Registration and networking will be done from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., and lunch will be served from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. For GFLGLCC members, the entry will cost $40, while for future members, it will be $45. Further information and registration can be found at gogayfortlauderdale.com.
Also in the Gay Agenda are the many activities and attractions you can find in the greater Fort Lauderdale area, with beautiful experiences like Butterfly World that are welcoming to families of any type. Visit Lauderdale has something for everyone under the sun. All right, y'all, and we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, August 17th. Let's begin by queering up breaking news. Texas woman who threatened Washington, D.C. judge overseeing Trump case is being held in detention. A Texas woman has been charged with threatening in a voicemail to kill the federal judge overseeing former President Donald Trump's criminal case in Washington, D.C. over his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Abigail Jo Schrei called the chambers of Judge Tanya Chutkan on August 5th and left a voicemail message threatening to kill anyone who went after Trump. The death threats also allegedly included a racist comment against Chutkan, who is black. Schrei is charged with transmission in interstate or foreign commerce of any communication containing a threat to injure the person of another. She is being held in detention pending trial, according to court documents, and a bond hearing has been set for September 13. On August 8th, Schrei admitted to the Department of Homeland Security special agents that she made the call to Chutkan's chambers, but that she had no plans to travel to Washington, D.C. or to Houston to carry out anything she stated. The complaint says Schrei also made a direct threat to kill Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, all the Democrats in Washington, D.C., and all people in the LGBTQ plus community. Where do we begin? You guys?
She's coming.
Crazy.
Right.
She's coming for us.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to say, while this is, I mean, it's horrifying, right? Accountability, and that is like, this is part of the problem with right, like the attack on the Capitol, is that there was almost no accountability, and this is showing us at least a move in that direction where people are held accountable for their violence.
I mean, this is ridiculous. You know, there is like a whole network of fear now with these indictments, and the Georgia grand jury, the names have been released for all of those people, and it's really scary. I'm concerned that they're going to be able to seat juries for the other
the cases
that he has coming up.
Well, I wouldn't take this seriously coming from someone like this, but at the same time, it's now important more than ever that the Justice Department and the folks that enforce these laws do that, because there are so many nutcases out there that are part of the blind Trump craziness.
And too smart to put it out there the way she did.
Yeah, but are feeling galvanized to move forward with these plans to attack.
This is Trump, because he has, and I think they need to put a gag order on him, because he's inciting violence by naming these judges on these social media platforms.
For sure.
These folks that are prosecuting him, and what that's doing is his radical base are going out there on social media threatening. Maybe next they'll show up at the homes of federal judges and law enforcement agents.
But isn't that maybe what he wants?
He knows he has a radical base. He knows he has a radical base, and he is weaponizing them against these people to fearmonger to get what he wants.
That's what he did on January 6th.
Yeah, exactly.
He riled up these people and said, "Oh, I didn't tell them to go break into the Capitol."
Right. So whether it's a legitimate threat in that way, it's legitimate insofar as there are enough people who will help carry it out. Like that is like, that's been clear.
Exactly.
And this iteration of white nationalism that we're watching
is scary as hell.
Very, very, and they operate largely in these internet spaces, right? Like that's some, you know, that is like, so they're sharing networks
he needs to be held accountable like anyone else and put behind bars pending his trial, because he won't stop going on social media.
He is a former president, though, so that, you know,
he is not above the law.
Of course he's not, but he's getting a lot of freedom because of that. Yeah. And I mean, what is the Secret Service going to have to live in jail too? I mean, what's going to happen there, right? He'll have to be,
And Miss Schrei, whatever your name is,
go cry.
I don't fight, ma'am. These teeth are new, so don't come for me. You can get the rest of them, but leave me alone, okay? I ain't got nothing to bother nobody.
The last drag queen standing.
Exactly. These wooden teeth, ma'am. No, she don't fight. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Next, let's queer up education. Far-right attacks, it gets better after group donates $600,000 to students. As students return to school for a new academic year, far-right extremists and conservative media outlets are targeting LGBTQ+ organizations that support the healthy development of children. after the It Gets Better project awarded over $600,000 in grant money in June to more than 50 high schools in the United States and Canada to uplift and empower LGBTQ+ students in schools. Some on the right have warned that the organization is, quote, grooming kids. This program awards projects mainly run by kids, and it funds everything from pride events to GSAs to inclusive language seminars to gender-inclusive closets. The It Gets Better project has approved individual $10,000 grants for 56 U.S. and 15 Canadian public and charter schools to fund LGBTQ+ initiatives throughout 2023, according to the organization's website. The far-right outfit Daily Caller took issue with the group promoting gender ideology. The publication attacked the It Gets Better in an article titled, quote, LGBTQ+ activist org awards thousands to schools across the country to promote gender ideology. The conservative website listed some of the schools awarded funds in that piece. I had a hard time kind of just keeping a face when I had to read gender ideology, but sorry y'all, I did what I could. But for me, I had a chance to look at the website in anticipation of this, and of course Florida's not amongst those schools, right? Because we have very not LGBTQ friendly. Thank you. That's a much. I was using euphemisms. But this is going to become even more dangerous because so many more states, right, are passing these kinds of anti-LGBTQ laws. And one of the things that I also just, as I was looking at the initiatives here, some of them were just to host proms, like, or to host like travel trips, educational trips. Like, that is like, how are you attacking people's right to learn? Like, it's at the core education.
And the story we were just talking about. These kinds of things are, what kind of helps empower these people. And, when the one parent says, I don't want my kid to read this book, and they yank the book out, people are like, oh, hey, now I can just say something and I can control everybody to only have my ideations. Yeah. It's scary.
So how do we get to a point where we can sort of stop talking about these people? Like, I understand that this discussion is important because there is a kind of a growing movement, but at the same time, we have to find a way to just get rid of their voice because it's not helpful. Yeah. It's not positive. It's not supporting children, even though they want to hide behind the fact that they're protecting children. Point. They're not.
I'll give you something we should do. An example of that was I was at the school board about a week and a half ago where the Moms for Liberty people were present, because there was a resolution for Pride History Month, Pride Month, etc. Right. And then, they were talking about books they wanted banned in the schools, etc. There were not a lot of folks on our side there.
Wow. That's unfortunate.
Packed with Moms for Liberty people. And so we have to, if we really want to shut their voices out, we have to make our voices louder than theirs.
Show up.
Well, I would say next time there's something like that and you're aware of it, let's talk about it on the news. Yeah. Make sure everybody knows.
Let's
take a little trip down to the...
Yeah. I've gone to many a commission and school board meeting to share my views. I think we all, if you haven't done it, do it.
Or trick the gay people, be like, ooh, free drink tickets if you go to school board meetings.
Let me tell you, back in the 90s, when we were working on the Human Rights Ordinance in Miami-Dade, we had hundreds of people show up to support. We had so many people that we couldn't even all be in the chambers. And I found that I don't see that kind of activism anymore.
A lot of the social justice is through your fingers right now, so people don't feel the need to show up.
Yeah, but school board, you have to show up.
Exactly, people don't realize that.
If you're not there...
They show up.
Because they show up.
School board is not on TikTok.
We grew complacent. I think that there's I think that's fair to say in a lot of ways, right? We felt a little safer, and turns out we're not. I mean, I say we, like the royal we or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now kids in schools are suffering some of the same things that I suffered in school. Yeah. Those of you here who are younger, things were starting to get progressive. Yes, of course, you're the baby.
She poses for the
But it's really sickening that we had all these fights and we won them. And now
We're having them again.
the next generations are going to have to fight them again because we old.
We already
Ben, we're
tired.
grateful
I hate
for
to
you.
break it to you.
Teach us
but
how to fight, though. Teach us how to fight.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have. Get your neighbors and the others.
Yeah, we all. Everybody has to
I
get up and
break it
fight.
to you.
Even
That's
if we
right.
did it before, we got to do it
We'll
again.
do it again. All right, indeed.
got it.
Next, we're going to queer up health. States that protect transgender health care now try to absorb demand. States that declared themselves refugees for transgender people have essentially issued an invitation. Get your gender-affirming health care here without fearing prosecution at home. Now that bans on such care for minors are taking effect around the country, Texas could be next, depending on the outcome for a court hearing this week, patients and their families are testing clinics' capacity. Already long waiting lists are growing, yet there are only so many providers of gender-affirming care and only so many patients they can see in a day. For those refuge states, so far California, Connecticut, Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, Washington, and Vermont, plus Washington, D.C., the question is how to move beyond promises of legal protection and build a network to serve more patients. Dr. Angela Cade Gottfried, medical director of the Gender Health Program at Children's Minnesota Hospital in the Twin Cities, said that the appointment requests are flooding into Children's from all over the country, including Texas, Montana, and Florida, all of which have bans. Requests have grown in a year from about 100 a month to 140 to 150. Initial sanctuary laws, or executive orders, were an emergency step to protect transgender people and their families from the threat of prosecution by more than 20 states that have restricted or banned such health care, advocates say. They generally do not contain provisions to shore up health systems, but advocates say that needs to be the next step. So what we're seeing here, of course, is the same thing that we saw happen with abortion, that people are going across state lines, and it's only a matter of time probably until these trans bans include bans on crossing state lines for such care. And it also is, I go back to, how can we hate our children so much?
Exactly.
How can we hate our children so much to say we're not going to give them honest care?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, another thing that's happening. I feel like there's a snowball effect happening. And one state does it, and then another, and then another. I mean, thank goodness for those refuge states that are standing firm on their status. I mean, I have no hope for Florida at this point, but it is disgusting.
Yeah.
When I initially, read this story, I was thinking about abortion, but I was also thinking about immigration. Like I was thinking about sanctuary cities in particular. And if we see the parallels between the states that have stood up for trans kids, for abortion, for immigrant, I mean, they're overlapping, right? So like they're largely the same states. And I do kind of worry about what that's going to mean for some of these states' ability to be able to help across, like how many people can they absorb? Because there is going to be an influx of folks who need care, and they're not being paid for by our taxes. So I mean, so that is, help those states out if you can. Give them money.
And here's a call to those folks who are in medical school or thinking about going to medical school. Consider specializing in gender-affirming care. There aren't enough physicians that do, and we need more of them.
And I'm also a little bit worried because how Republicans say they're about states' rights until they get the majority in the federal government, or they have a trifecta government, and then they start to make these laws national, and there's nothing really we can do at that point.
Right.
They have all three branches of government, including the House and the Senate, and they decide we're going to ban the ability of these states to do this, or we're going to do a national ban on abortion. So goes the states' rights issue, and so that's a thing to worry about in the next few years.
Big one. I mean, and we know the ones who fought the most for the states' rights issue were the former Confederate states, right? Like that, if we can make the parallels, it's not unclear.
Wow.
Well, next, let's queer up business. Pornhub sues Texas over age verification law taking effect next month. Listen to this. Beginning next month, companies that distribute sexual materials online will be required to verify those assessing accessing such material in Texas are at least 18 years old. The law, House Bill 1181, forces a, quote, Texas Health and Human Services warning on all porn websites, along with a process to verify someone's age. The bill was signed into law by far-right Republican Governor Greg Abbott in June. To verify their age, those accessing the porn sites will submit pictures of their photo ID and provide facial scans or other information. Pornhub and a group of other companies and individuals in the adult entertainment industry have sued Texas and argued that the impending law is a violation of the U.S. Constitution, as well as the Communications Decency Act. The industry group leading the charge is the advocacy group, the Free Speech Coalition. The complaint states the law uses the least effective and yet also the most restrictive means of accomplishing Texas stated purposes of allegedly protecting minors. The group say that minors could use VPNs or Tor to access the material anyway, and that a better way of restricting such content to minors would be on-device content blocking. A similar requirement for age verification has gone up in Louisiana, where a legal challenge has also been brought against the state over it. Now, it is not also Louisiana. I've done some research. I believe this also applies to Arkansas, Mississippi, Utah, and Virginia. And
Wow.
as a porn connoisseur, I guess you could say, I think this is bogus. Because what if I want to watch a video in drag? I can't scan this
Your
face.
face recognition.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, no, this is like an invasion of privacy.
Absolutely.
And it's the same old argument of they will do this to the lowest level, but all the higher end people who are also watching these videos, it won't apply to them because they don't want their business out there.
So this is the same party that rails against the nanny state, right?
Right.
Where we don't want our government taking care of everyone and doing everything, yet we're okay to...
We're going to watch
We're going to
you.
watch you have
Yes.
porn. And it's also another way of just making a list of people that they
Exactly.
are consider undesirable.
Can you imagine Greg Abbott like personally being able to look up and say, okay, what porn did you watch today?
Yeah, I mean,
I want to know what porn
scary.
Greg
I'm an
Abbott is watching.
exhibitionist, but not in that way.
Not that-
No.
First Amendment, anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment? That's all.
Yeah, every
Pick an
Violation of-
amendment.
Yeah, violation of a lot of
like-
amendments.
I also can't help to think of this as like a bait and switch. That is like, because now to come out against this, they're gonna be like, they want to show porn to children, right? Like that is like, it's so clear that that's what this is, even though it is such a clear and most egregious form and violation of your human rights. Like that is like it's against constitutional. Like
I want parents to take care of their children. I want
Right.
parents to be responsible
Yeah.
for
But
what
they don't.
Not my fault.
Right.
right.
But they
Yes.
reclaiming the narrative, and the narrative
For
is we
sure.
don't want the government in our bedroom, right?
Exactly.
And now the government is literally in your
In
bedroom.
your
Much less
Right.
having to give them a vial of blood to watch porn. I mean, it's such a, the requirements here are nuts.
It
like,
is. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
So now let's queer up entertainment. Finally, a positive story for the news tonight. Transgender influencer Wendy Guevara wins Mexico's version of Celebrity Big Brother. Trans influencer Wendy Guevara made history and thrilled fans across Mexico and the world when she won the latest season of the popular reality series La Casa de los Famosos, Celebrity House, on August 14th. BeLatina.com reported that Guevara's journey from contestant to champion captured hearts and broke barriers, showcasing not only her resilience, but also the transformative power of representation and inclusion in the entertainment industry. Guevara became an icon following a virtual video in which she and her friend Paola shouted that they were lost on a hill. This experience would give them the name Las Perdidas. The video remains popular even now, and Guevara has become a singer and social media influencer. Her YouTube channel serves as a platform from which she shares a mix of lifestyle content, makeup tutorials, music, and funny sketches on this channel. It was her success as a social media star that landed Guevara a spot on the show, but her own charm and humor carried her to victory. Music Mundial noted that Guevara is loved by the public due to her sincerity, fun, and life story, which is one of overcoming adversity and remaining true to herself. Finally, a positive story, good for her. winning the hearts. I mean, these are the kinds of shows that help us win the hearts and minds of people, to see that we're people, we're human beings. And, for someone to say that we all should be dead is just like horrendous.
Well, and this is what can happen.
Loss.
This is what can happen when we allow people to self-actualize, to be individuals, to be out there without the fear of being shot. Or being
not
slandered,
receiving care,
or not receiving care, right? When you're allowed to grow, you grow into something beautiful.
Be fully self-expressed. We all should be able to do that.
Good representation too in the media.
I don't watch enough reality TV show, but I don't watch
I don't watch any reality.
But I'm gonna go look. I want to look her up. Like I want to hear her sing. I want to see her on that hill where she's like,
I wasn't really sure what that was, but I have to figure it out. What hill?
Get on the TikToks, and I mean that is like
Get on the TikTok.
I love transgender women being put in the household of a nuclear family where they have to engage with her. They have to. If they want to enjoy the show, they can't ignore her. They have to listen to her, hear her story, laugh at her jokes, be entertained by her, humanize her, and be like, oh, that's not just a transgender person. This is Wendy, and Wendy has a story. Wendy is a person. Wendy sort of deserves rights as a trans woman. Who would have thunk? So thank you so much, Wendy, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Next is Queer Up the Worldview. Arrest of 33 gay men at nightclub sparks outrage and protests in Venezuela. In a recent unsettling event, Valencia, Venezuela's third largest city, witnessed the questionable detention of 33 men from the Avalon Club, a renowned gathering place for the LGBTQ+ community. Following the mass arrest on July 23rd, the nation's capital, Caracas, became the site of fiery protests. Thousands raised their voices, demanding the immediate release of the detained individuals. A petition initiated by the Venezuelan Observatory of LGBTIQ+ violence has already garnered close to 10,000 signatures. The campaign advocates for a fair trial for the detainees who are ostensibly facing charges such as outrage against modesty, conspiracy to commit a crime, and noise pollution. The issue has ignited discussions on the social media platform Twitter, with individuals expressing their anger using a hashtag which translates to Justice for the 33. As reported by Al Jazeera, a majority of the detained 30 men were granted conditional parole post 72 hours of confinement, implying a requirement to report to the local authorities monthly. The remaining 3, including the Avalon Club's proprietor, were released on August 3rd, 10 days after their detention. Disturbingly, some of the detained men's photographs, many of whom hadn't disclosed their sexuality publicly, were illicitly leaked to the local press. These images were maliciously used to associate them with false narratives. The Venezuelan Observatory of LGBTIQ+ violence did not hold back in their condemnation, labeling the detentions as state-sponsored homophobia. I'm going to go ahead and call it state-sponsored terrorism. What they did. Obviously, we know it's not right to do, but I'm just surprised. That's all I can say.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I think that the conservative wave that we're seeing here is all over the world. We're seeing it in, Israel has a very, very conservative government now. Lots of places in the world are moving towards this strange conservativeness, and it's not surprising. It's kind of laughable that they said noise pollution was one of the things that they charged. That's just ridiculous.
It reminds me of resisting arrest without violence in the US.
Right. It's like they're making shit up.
Yes. Well, look, Venezuela is not really known for its progressive politics anyway.
Exactly, right.
But I'm wondering, like, this made me think about the Texas law of holding up your ID to look at porn. Like, another way of getting a list of people together so that we can go round them up. I mean, did Venezuela do the porn ban before too? Yeah,
and is Texas going to publish the names and driver's license of all these people who are signing into Pornhub? It's an easy hack.
That's exactly what authoritarianism does, right? Like that is like it breeds all sorts of human rights violations, and like in Venezuela, the the high level of poverty and the discrepancy of poverty for most of the, like, so many people are so poor while there's so much state-induced violence. And like, it allows them to get away with something like this, but it also doesn't. That is like, I don't know if you saw those images. I saw them just now for the first time. Those protests were really powerful. It kind of looked like ACT UP days. Like, it looked kind of like a die-in, where people were just, they had the sign, que todos somos los 33, and like, they all had and they were standing in the middle of the streets, like, as if they were dead, right? Like, that is like, one of us falls and we all fall. That is, it also can be an opportunity to show a great deal of resilience and resistance, and we got to prepare for what comes ahead, because if not, we don't see a path forward.
And honestly, I think that episodes like the protest they did, when we see those types of things occurring all over the world, it inspires us. Yeah. It inspires us that even in these countries where it's super scary, I mean, you could be put to death or put in prison for years and years, that folks are taking the risk. They're taking the risk, and they're coming out because no one's ever going to give you permission.
No.
You have to take permission.
You cannot live in that fear. It's sometimes worse than death.
Yeah. And the tide is turning. A lot of these countries, people are speaking up. They're protesting like we saw here. Governments are starting to really look at policy we never thought would have happened. Some countries legalizing at least civil unions or same-sex marriages. So there's some changes happening.
I love this. We turned this terrible story into something good.
Gorgeous.
We did that.
Yes.
Speaking of gorgeous, next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
We finish tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News, let's queer up the worldview. Malaysia makes wearing a rainbow swatch punishable by up to 3 years in jail. Malaysia's government said recently that all swatch products that contain lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer elements, including watches, wrappers, and boxes, were banned, warning that anyone found with one could be jailed for up to 3 years. The ban has been published in the Federal Gazette, which makes it official as part of the printing law that includes distribution and possession, citing concerns that such products were detrimental to the nation's morality. Malaysia, which is predominantly Muslim, already criminalizes same-sex relationships, with punishments ranging from caning under Islamic laws to 20 years in prison for sodomy under colonial-era laws.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up hotspots. In Hotspots on stands today, local theaters shine in the spotlight. The new issue of Hotspots magazine is on stands today, and it is filled with details about all the events that will take place this week in South Florida and the important updates from the queer world. The magazine has covered the upcoming Island City Stage Season 12, starting from October 12th to September 2024, and the information on all the shows it will run. Also, do not forget to read about the Slow Burn Company's announcement of the 2023-24 season, which will feature 5 Broadway musicals, namely Into the Woods, Disney's The Little Mermaid, Sister Act, The Prom, and SpongeBob the Musical. Grab your free copy of Hotspots to get all the details of the queer world.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the big interview. Enjoy a sneak peek of the Unapologetically Queer interview with Andrew Hartzler. Unapologetically Queer by Queer News Tonight recently hosted an insightful conversation with Andrew Hartzler. He is one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the Department of Education, asking the court to strike down the religious exemptions as a violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment and of the students' equal protection rights, and he is also the nephew of Vicky Hartzler, a Republican representative from Missouri. The host of Unapologetically Queer and gay guru Al Ferguson talked to him about growing up as a gay person in a conservative family, dealing with trauma, and navigating through conversion therapy, politics, and exorcism.
Andrew, I'm curious to the point that Trevor Project and other organizations have helped educate us about what is going on in gay conversion therapy. I want to read a quote that you said that I thought was very interesting. You said about gay conversion therapy, quote, "It was like some of the darkest moments of my entire life. It basically just teaches you, like learned self-hate, like learning to repress, like half of your mind. It's exhausting," end quote. Very powerful words, Andrew. I'm curious, through the process that you went through, did you ever think about suicide yourself?
Yeah, definitely that was a common theme like throughout this whole experience with conversion therapy. As like whenever my parents like first told me that this is something that I would have to like start doing, I like didn't go into it like, oh yeah, excited at all. I was like, okay, I'm gonna suffer through this. And then once I realized that, yeah, this isn't going away, I decided I realized partly that the only way my parents were gonna love me was if I was straight. And because I desperately wanted my parents to love and accept me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually do what they're telling me to do, and I'm going to try this. And it wasn't like less than 3 months into actually committing to trying this. And I was just like deteriorating so much mentally, and I was like taking steps trying to like in my own life, and that was a very dark moment of life.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the world. LGBTQ plus Ethiopians blame attacks on their community on TikTok and other social media. Members of Ethiopia's LGBTQ plus community say they face a wave of harassment and physical attacks and blame much of it on the social media platform TikTok, which they say is failing to take down posts calling for homosexual and transgender people to be whipped, stabbed, and killed. A local LGBTQ plus support group, House of Guarmale, said that some TikTok users are also outing Ethiopians by sharing their names, photographs, and online profiles on one of the country's most popular social media platforms. In Ethiopia, homosexual acts are punishable by up to 15 years in prison.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up politics. Florida GOP chair calls Don't Say Gay opponents perverted and tells them to leave. As the leader of the Republican Party in Florida, welcome an exodus of perverted supporters of sexual education in K-12 schools, a new study showed 3 out of 5 parents surveyed in the state have considered leaving since the passage of the Don't Say Gay Parental Rights in Education Act. The study, authored by Abby E. Goldberg and published by the Williams Institute, found that 40% of those interviewed considered leaving the state following the passage of the bill, including 53% of Democrats and 40% of independents. Wow. The chairman of the Florida Republican Party, Christian Ziegler, told the Washington Examiner, quote, "If a Democrat voter is passionate and perverted enough to support the sexualization of kids during school and grades as early as kindergarten, then I would agree that Florida is probably not the best fit for them," end quote. What a disgusting person. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Julio Capo Jr., and on behalf of these incredible LGBTQ plus reporters and awesome folks, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Bonnie Builder, Dr. Tai Houser, Cindy Brown, and Elijah Manley. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Good night.